Hey YouTube, Sign here, back with another video. And for today's video, we're going to be talking about Hollow Zero. Few of you now, if not many of you, are starting to get to level 40 and higher, and you're getting closer and closer to the last couple of stages of Hollow Zero, consisting of Old Capital Metro, Construction Ruins, and Abandoned Skyscraper. Upon hitting level 45, you will unlock the middle core stage, Withering Gardens, which will be a leg up in terms of difficulty compared to the previous 3 stages. If you're struggling in the previous 3 stages, then you're going to get a big welcome calling when you unlock this stage. One thing I will mention, this video is going to be focusing primarily on Withering Gardens. If you're struggling in the previous 3 stages and you need like a guide, let me know in the comments down below and I can probably work on a video for those 3 stages. But I don't find them too hard, therefore I didn't really make a video on that. You can just pretty much out level them and it'll be easy. But in order to unlock Withering Gardens, you do need to complete each of these stages on their core difficulty. So that includes Old Capital Metro, Construction Ruins, and Abandoned Skyscraper. Once you beat that, then Withering Gardens will be unlocked. You'll do a little quest and you'll be able to access this. Withering Gardens is going to just be at base value a regular stage when you complete it the first time. However, upon completing it, you'll get access to Intensity. Intensity ramps up the difficulty for Withering Gardens, adding multipliers, damage buffs, reductions, all types of crazy effects to the stage that will increase its difficulty. And the higher level intensity you have upon completion, you'll obtain more rewards, capping out at 11 intensity to get the max amount of rewards. Now for each level of intensity, we're going to see for the first 3 is going to be normal elite enemies getting a 50% attack boost, all items in the stores becoming 50% more expensive, gaining additional 50 pressure upon entering a new floor. Keep in mind Withering Gardens is a 3-floor stage. Then we'll see for the next 3 we'll have elite and boss enemies gain 30% max health and anomaly build-up resistance. Boss damage increases over time, capping at double of their attack and reducing the HP recovery and pressure reduction by 35%. The next 3 will be bosses have 50% higher max days and recover from their stun 100% faster. For the final boss, it pretty much instantly that it will recover from its stun. The next one will be a series of events entailing unavoidable risks can happen. This I don't really understand too well. I do need a little bit more information on this one. It seems to be random events happening, but I don't really know exactly what they mean by random. Next we have agents taking more damage when they hold fewer than 1,500 gear coins. Gear coins are going to be the yellow coin in the bottom left corner. You should know this by now. And then the last 2, which will be 9, 10, and 11, will be attacks from elite and boss enemies, reduced energies from the characters, and your decibels. Decibels, what you use to do your ultimate, and all enemies' stats are enhanced drastically. Now, I don't know the actual number for each stat increase on this level. However, if anyone does know, please leave it in the comments down below. But as you can see here, the level of difficulty can really ramp up with all this buff stacked up. But like any difficult challenge, with the right amount of preparation, you can really alleviate a lot of the stress you may be having. And how do we do this? Well, the first thing you want to do is level up your combat configuration. These are going to be items that you get upon beating each of the core stages, and each stage has a corresponding item that you'll get, and leveling this up will drastically increase the amount of stats your characters have going into the Hollow. Now, one thing about the materials here, they are limited by each week, so you do want to max that out so that you can make sure you're the strongest variant of yourself when tackling this content. The next thing you want to do is level up the friendship level of your DPS character for any 5-star character. The reason being is that you'll get a Resonia that's going to imitate a cinema level for the character. For example, with Ellen, it's going to imitate her E2 or her C2, which is going to give her a little bit of a different combo when she does her EX special attack after the 3rd hit, which will do her Sharknania or her Sharknami, excuse me, instead. So your character gets a lot stronger with these, If you're an A rank character, you probably have dupes of it, so it's not going to be nearly as effective. But for the people who are running the S rank characters, this will be a massive boost of power that you do want to get. Finally, we have leveling up your DPS characters level, their W engine level, their disk drive levels. Good ones only, to be honest. The bad ones, you can level them up a little bit, but don't invest too hard into those. And then lastly, we have their character abilities to make this a little bit easier so you don't get stuck into the fight for too long and you're just living barely by a dodge here. Now that that's all said and done, now we have to go into building your team up. And this is where it gets a little bit harder. Recommended here is 1 element team. The reason being is that when you bring characters into the Hollow, your Resonia options will increase based on the elements you bring. For example, if you bring a ice character, you get access to Ice Resonia. If you bring a fire character, you get access to Fire Resonia. If your main DPS is only going to focus on ice damage, bringing a Fire Resonia will lower the amount of options you have, meaning that you have to pick that option in some cases where it won't really benefit your main DPS character. So just keep that in mind when building a team. It's recommended to bring 1 element. Now for Withering Gardens, there is going to be a couple of things you want to keep note of. When it comes to floor 1, there is a couple of enemies that will be resistant to fire. So if you're bringing a pure fire team, just know you may have to re-roll for some fights because you got really bad luck. And mainly it's going to be one enemy in particular, which is going to be the Mark II Gunner. Him paired with any other elite enemy, like a Mark II Gunner with, let's say, a Dullahan or another electric type boss enemy, can be a real hassle to deal with. So in that case, it may just be quicker just to restart and try your luck again. So keep that in mind when you have a fire character. Next up, we have physical characters. So that would be like Nekomata and stuff. There's going to be a big gap in terms of physical resistant enemies when you reach the 2nd floor. Most of the bosses there are resistant to physical. So once again, you're going to have another situation where you will have a lot more damage to deal with because of how little damage you're doing because of the resistance. Luckily, this is a little bit later into the fight, so you don't need to reset nearly as much. However, just know you will incur a little bit more struggle when you reach the 2nd floor, at least the 2nd floor final boss. There will also be a couple of enemies that resist fire in the 2nd floor as well, so let's keep that in mind that this is going to be a little bit harder for people who want to run a fire or physical team. One final thing I didn't mention is that you may also notice that there are now 6 squad member slots. Additional members who are not selected to be recruited for battle when you run into the recruitment event panel will give a Resonia buff to your allies, such as a 25% damage boost, but you take 15% more damage. These are randomized and can make your run much easier, so it doesn't hurt to bring characters of the same element even if they are level 1. Once you have your team figured out, let's talk about what you can expect going into floor 1. When you enter the Withering Gardens, you will be given a few options. These options are a combination of previously given options for the core stages mixed into one with some negatives and positives. First off, we have a selection from 3 damage boosts. The first one will give you a 5% HP recovery and a 5% damage boost capping up to 50% each time your pressure overloads. This is the effect that happens when you hit 100% pressure. Next, we have one that will give you a damage boost up to 50% each time you spend 100 gear coins for a total of 10,000 gear coins to max it out. Finally, we have the strongest buff, which will give you a damage boost for each percentage you are below your maximum health, capping at 80%. Between these 3, it will depend on your playstyle. The safest option, it will be the gear coins, while the most rewarding, it's HP, as long as you're able to dodge well. Keep in mind, pressure is really hard due to the limit of 5 corruptions, so you will need to clear a few corruptions for this effect to work. Next up, you will be given a boost to the rate of any type of Resonia you wish to get. You will only get a selection of 3. This is why you want to limit your elements so there is less clutter to deal with. In terms of the most valuable, dodge is by far the most important, and rerolling for this at the higher intensity levels is okay. Secondly, it will be your elemental damage boost or shield, depending on how well you can play the game. If you don't trust your ability to dodge, go with shield, but if you're confident, go with elemental damage boost. After this selection, you will be given another selection. This time, one will be a positive and another will be a negative. For positive options, you will be able to either reduce the amount of pressure you receive, increase the amount of gear coins you get, or increase the healing you do outside of combat. The safest option here is pressure, as this will mess you up the most in the run, and unless you are very strong, playing with 5 corruptions is a death sentence. The second best option is gear coin boosting, as it will give you the best options for increasing your overall damage via Resonia. Keep in mind there is a corruption that can screw this completely over by making all stops consume HP instead of gear coins. I do not recommend healing personally. Next up, we have the 3 negatives. We have one that will increase the amount of pressure you gain for each interaction, increasing the price of gear coins required for the shop, or capping your maximum health at 80%. In terms of the one you do not want to get at all cost, it will be pressure. Once we get strong enough to play with 5 corruptions, this will be a decent option, but for now, it's not recommended. So it's between gear coins or HP limit. Personally, I've always gone with the HP limit since you will generally be at low health throughout the run due to the multiple situations and how hard you can get hit at times. But select based on your comfort. After all these selections are completed, you will be placed into a field which will mimic one of the floor types of the previous 3 stages. I don't know at the time of recording this video if it's totally random or if it's a set based on your selections, but some floor types like Metro is preferred early on as it gives you more flexibility in routing your run. But before that, let's talk about what really makes or breaks your run, which is going to be your Resonia. This is the most important part of the video, so I will be going over the most important Resonia you want to grab for each type in order to make your run a lot easier. Starting off with Dodge Resonia. The most important Resonia you want to grab is S-Rank Shuttlecock, as it will extend your dodge vital state. The others are good options for damage boosting, but this will make your run all that much easier. For A ranks, nothing is a must grab. Finally, for B rank, you want to grab Sneakers and Skis, since this will give you a better dodge and allow you to get more energy from each dodge so you can spam EX special attacks easier. For Shield Resonia, S-Rank Elastic Kneecaps is a good option if you have good energy Resonia and Ski. Otherwise, the only other good option for Resonia you will really want to grab is B Tactical Mask for the shield after your perfect dodges. The other Resonia are good, but these 2 will impact you the most. Energy Resonia, A rank Orange God is a must grab, and B rank Sharp Smile is a nice addition for EX special attack spamming. If you don't understand why I keep mentioning EX special attack, it's because it allows you to still DPS while not having to worry about taking damage or dodging. I won't have to mention anything for critical or dual and elemental Resonia, since that will be based on your team, and hopefully by now you will have an idea of which Resonia best suits your team. Since this video doesn't have an actual team recommendation, it's just hard for me to cover without making it 100 minutes of me yapping. But now that we have an idea for Resonia down, let's talk about a few tips to make it easier for each floor. Firstly, unless you are very confident, try not to sacrifice your DPS's character HP too much, as you will give yourself less leeway to make mistakes throughout the fights. When loading into the first floor, you may see Artifact Resonia. If you don't know what they are a negative effect at the start of battle, and it will be giving you a boost after you complete a battle with them on. You will get to select from a selection of 3, and based on your team, some of these may be better than others, such as the Anomaly buildup, but generally speaking, the one you want to grab the most is Century Poker, which will increase the amount of energy and decibels you gain after you complete the battle. with the negative effect being not too bad, as if you're using a dodge build, you won't get hit anyways. Pitch Dark Cap can also work if you grab it as the very last event before the boss, since corruption is going to be your biggest enemy in this mode. But this will only work consistently if you get the Metro floor stage early on. Next up, let's talk about Bangboos. Outside of the passive abilities that they provide, the best one by far is Paper Boo. He will grab aggro, and this is great when multiple enemies are attacking you at once. This is the real lifesaver. Some people may want to grab Avocado Boo and Explore Boo due to the heals, but Paper Boo is the true GOAT. Extra Bangboo should be something to boost your damage or energy gain. Because there is so much RNG in this mode, I don't have a recommended event order, and speaking about each would probably end up being its own video for now, so I won't talk about it too much. But once you complete everything and the floor boss, you will reach the in-between floor stage, which is similar to the previous core stages. Before you even do anything, you will be forced to do another positive or negative choice, and the picks this time is a little bit more RNG related. So make sure that you pay attention to the Bangboo plugin pack, as this item you get will be a lot better depending on what item is in there, and some are way better than others. It's not even close. The general idea here is to grab whatever is your least preferred item first, and whatever you want the most last, as you'll get the most out of it near the end. Strong healing items should be grabbed very last, as it will allow you to go into the final fight with full HP, which is nice for consistent runs. As for the negatives, this is not randomized to my knowledge, and the order goes based on your run. If you have no gear coins going into the floor, sack that first. Otherwise, you sack your HP first. There is very little chance you will be getting full corruption by this point, so avoid the corruption on the first floor. When you visit the second floor, grabbing corruption is the choice if you're going to overfill the corruption. That way you minimize the amount of corruption you would gain from this. If you have an item that removes corruption in your inventory, you should instead grab the corruption effect on the third floor. But once you have your game plan, we move into the rest of the events. There's a small chance you skip these negatives, but because it's not consistent, I don't want to talk about it too much. Now, I must stress heavily, if you happen to see the weird fog event, avoid it like a plague. Otherwise, you can do things as you would normally do, and this is where I recommend people make use of withdrawing from the blue shop on the left if you are struggling. While I don't think I need to mention it, you should not be depositing anything at the higher levels of intensity, as it only makes your run that much harder. But if you're confident in your abilities to play, then go ahead. Deposit all you want. Once all that's done and you complete the floor, repeat everything again for the next 2 floors, and you will eventually make it to the final boss in Nineveh. Now, honestly speaking, this boss isn't too bad. There are just a few attacks you have to watch out for, and you should be able to beat it no problem. Most of the attacks are telegraphed by the light for a perfect assist, so all you have to do is dodge instead of hitting perfect assist, and you should be fine. She always starts the fight off with this same long range attack, so just rush her down instantly and you don't have to even worry about it. After that, there are a few attacks you will have to watch out for, one being an AoE ground beam attack that comes out from the backside. You can see her charging this attack as the back of her hair will begin to light up, and this doesn't have the light assist, so you do have to pay attention. Next, there are long range tracking balls that will follow your character, so be prepared to dodge these. Next up, we have her biggest time wasting attack, which is a spinning attack that will have you countering for a long period of time if you use the perfect assist, so it's recommended to dodge if possible. You will get the light for this, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but the hitbox is huge and lasts a very long time. Best to not attack her close up during this time period unless you have the right build and timing. Respect this attack. Finally, we have to not forget about the true run killers, which are the bugs. They will snipe you and end your run with a ton of damage. If your character doesn't have a wide range attack, it's recommended you take them out instantly just to avoid getting shot in the back, as their attacks are easy to hear, but sometimes you just won't be paying attention because you're so tunnel vision on the boss. But keep in mind, you can dodge his attack from the sound effect alone, so I would only recommend that though after playing this for a long period of time. Just be sure to pay attention. Finally, we are going to talk about her 2 breakpoints. Once you get her to roughly 70 to 60% HP, Nineveh will return back to the middle of the map and start charging up a massive AoE nuke. This will kill your characters 100% if the attack is taken. In order to dodge its attack, you simply just stand behind a wall as close as possible, and you will get pushed back after the attack, but take no damage. This will also activate a quick assist, so keep that in mind if you need this effect to activate. Finally, we have her most annoying phase and by far the hardest part of the fight, since you will have to play near automata, Toho, bullet hell mode, and Nineveh will no longer be able to take damage until this phase is over. Highly recommended you go to a sacrificial lamb agent, as you don't want to lose your DPS and end up failing the fight, so it's always good to go to a character you okay with dying. All you have to do is stay on the move and circle around the edge of the map, staying away from the tentacles it spawns. Dodge is key to victory in this phase, and where shuttlecock is so very core, as all you have to do is run to the other side of the map each time vital state occurs, and most of the tracking orbs will completely miss you. Once you get through this part, you are pretty much done and beat the fight. Now I know it's a lot to keep track of, but never forget you always have the chance to retry and practice until you can clear it, so don't trust too hard if you're getting your face smashed in a couple of times. Unless you're extremely strong, it will take a lot of trial and error to beat this fight at the higher levels. Now that pretty much concludes this guide for the Withering Gardens. I do want to thank everyone for making it this far in the video. If you enjoyed this type of content, if you learned something, leave a like, share the video, let people know how to beat this content. It is going to be the challenging content outside of Shield Defense for the time being. So if you're willing to take on the challenge, and if you made it this far in the game, it's recommended you do tackle it. You do get some good rewards. I appreciate everyone for making it this far in the video. And once again, if you enjoy it, don't forget to support it. I will catch you in my next video. Until then, stay strong.